VetNet. If you are here today, it's probably because you know that your next career breakthrough actually starts right now. So today we are privileged to welcome members from the J&J team who will speak in details about some of the great employment opportunities and development programs offered at Johnson & Johnson and how you can actually connect with them if you're interested in what they have to offer. So to introduce the team to you today, I would like for you to join me in welcoming a great friend and fellow veteran, Tiffany Daugherty, Military Pathways Human Resource Leader at Johnson & Johnson. Tiffany.
Thanks so much, Ken. Excited to be here as a longtime friend and supporter in LA of the IVMF and the team here. Thank you all for joining us. I know that we continue to have more people popping into the room, and so welcome to those of us joining us. We're excited to share quite a bit with you today about our programs at Johnson & Johnson, and also introduce you to a couple of veterans that will be joining us. So if we could go ahead and open up the slides, I'll give you a little bit of what the run is going to look like. Bottom line though, the main thing, we are going to try to move really quickly because we want to make sure that we leave some time for your questions. So in setting the listening here, please do listen, please prepare your questions, and about the second half of this time is going to be devoted to hearing from you and sharing what we can with you. So next slide, please. So yeah, what we're going to do today is we're going to tell you a little bit about Johnson & Johnson, our connection to the military community, and then talk to you about jobs. How do you get hired? How do you connect with Johnson & Johnson? And where do we go from here? So next slide. Start you off by introducing you to our team. You're going to hear from each of them throughout the presentations today. So I'll tell you just a little bit about me. As we get started, I am Tiffany Daugherty, and I lead our military talent initiatives at Johnson & Johnson. And I sit in HR, though not in talent acquisition. That's probably less relevant to you then. I am a Navy brat. I am an Army enlisted veteran, and I've worked in military employment for about a decade. And so excited to be here and excited to share that with you, just as I know our veteran community is really diverse. And I hope that we also, by the way, have some military spouses on the line. I'm also a former special operations spouse. So that's a little bit about my story. You're going to hear a little bit later from Candace Colleen as well, who is really a right hand with me here in our day-to-day work around military talent. And she works with our leadership development programs. And so she'll be telling you a little bit more about that. And then two veterans who are going to be here to share their experience in some really diverse roles, really different roles across our business, are Peter Goodridge and Tanya Luddy are with us today. So excited to introduce them all to you as we go forward. Next slide. Okay. Want to kick us off by just telling you a little bit about Johnson & Johnson. The most important thing here is our credo. Everything that we do as a company, just as you came from the military, and I know I wore my Army core values around my neck and in my wallet, and they drove everything that I did. We have what we call our credo, which is our promise written in stone. And it was written back in 1943, in the wake of the Industrial Revolution, and by General Robert Wood Johnson, the second generation of the Johnson family to lead our business. And it defines how we make decisions every day as a company. And it's really broken up into four paragraphs, and they are the four categories of stakeholders that we have to consider in making decisions and what order we consider them in. So the first paragraph really talks about our patients, their mothers and fathers, their doctors and nurses, those that our products touch every day as the world's most diverse and largest scale healthcare business. The second group of people we consider are employees. And think about the context of when this was written. We still said our employees, their well-being, having great leaders, having great support. That's the second most important thing we must consider. Third is the communities in which we do business. And then fourth is our shareholders. So profits are important, but they never come before those other three parts of our credo. Next slide. And what are we looking for as a business? We are looking for brilliant minds that see the world differently. That we think comes through from our military community in so many ways. We want your diversity of experience. We want your diversity of perspective. to come to our company and to bring that perspective. And we've seen it, by the way. We've seen that military leaders really do bring new perspectives, and they get promoted more quickly. They retain better in our business. So we don't just do this because we think that it's a good thing to do or the right thing to do. We do it because it's great for our business. But all right, on that note, Peter, I think you're going to take it over from here and share a little bit more about our company.
I am. Next slide, if you don't mind. So at J&J, we're really positioned to serve our global community. We now consist nearly of 142,000 employees across 260 companies in 60 different countries. And thanks to really their collective expertise, their breakthrough thinking, dedication, we now touch the lives of more than 1 billion people every single day. Next slide. As you look at really our product portfolio, we have 29 kind of platforms or products, if you will, that on their own generate $1 billion annually each. So just to give you an idea, we have some massive products. Johnson & Johnson is a place where you can grow professionally and personally. The global reach of our many different functions stretches across every facet of what we do, and it really gives you a chance to evolve your skills, your roles, and really drive towards the different goals that you may have. Many of our colleagues say there's no such opportunity to grow and flex professionally. There's so many opportunities to flex and grow professionally here that it feels like they can make their entire career and go in many different directions as they change and evolve and learn as they move forward. Next slide. At J&J, kind of our focus, right, and our passion is really about imagining a future where disease is a thing of the past. We really work continuously to figure out how we can fight many of the world's most pervasive diseases. And many of us, all of us have really lived that world over the last couple of years. A big part of what J&J and Janssen do is really try to bring new hope for people in all parts of the world by developing and delivering medicines that can prolong and improve people's lives. Next slide.
Okay.
Turn it to Candace.
Yep. Thank you, Peter. Hi, everyone. So there are 3 skills that are core to J&J, and those 3 skills are transferable from you within the military. So it's intellectual curiosity, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Intellectual curiosity is the gateway skill to innovation and creativity. It's what leads people to experiment with new ideas that turn into breakthroughs in our health technology. Emotional intelligence is what puts people's needs at the forefront of everything that we do, from our own teammates to billions of people that we positively impact across J&J. Resilience allows us to persevere through trial and error of learning something new. It's the courage to find lessons in every experience and bring what we've learned to new challenges that we face in human health. Next slide. Our military community at J&J is large. We have military spouses, veterans of all sorts. And this next slide will preview that. Next slide. We do have a legacy of support and engagement, starting with our founder, as well as all the way to our previous CEO and chairman, Alex Gorsky. We do have an award-winning best-in-class community from our Veterans Leadership Council, as well as opportunities with our strategic partners like ACP and as well as yourself. So we do have an active and supportive and engaging community of veterans across J&J, and as well as supporters and spouses. So we are extremely committed to this community. Next slide. And now I'll pass it over to Peter to talk about his experience from the military to J&J.
Yep. Hello again. As said in the beginning, so I currently serve as the general manager of one of our biologics facilities in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And my challenge that I have today is to try to explain, a journey of, probably close to 20 years at this point. And maybe you have to click the button. I think dropped off some of the images. Probably have to hit it all. I guess it's a time slide. Sorry for that. In very brief here, try to explain, the career that I've had. But I think, as I go back to kind of the point in time where I was making the decision to get out of the U.S. Army, what I was looking for at the time, and I think has served well, right, was a company that had a purpose-driven culture. And as we kind of explained in the first part, I think, trying to save people's lives and help improve the quality of life is something that's very easy to get behind and be motivated about day to day. I've never had a real defined, this is what I want to do, step by step. And I think one of the things that I saw with J&J was, number one, it's a worldwide company. So not a lot of opportunities to move, around the country, around the world, which I've done. And also it was a place where it's such a large company that you can kind of build equity still within the J&J family of companies, but move in different areas, right? So if you're interested in supply chain, moving from deliver or planning or finance or into all different areas that as you evolve, continue to grow, or where you're coming in from based on your experiences, it's usually, enough opportunities within J&J that you can find that perfect match. I think what I'll highlight here just briefly, right? My schooling was in business and in finance. I did the normal, or I went through ROTC and went into the Army as an officer. And really, a couple of things as I looked at my time in the Army that I really connected with was I enjoyed kind of the cross-functional collaboration, connecting, mission planning, doing the things that allowed us to be successful on the battlefield. And as I came out, those were things that I was able to kind of pitch and position with J&J, and ultimately found a connection in kind of the production planning space and supply chain. So I think the only other thing that I will mention here briefly, and I can certainly take questions at the end, is really, I really thought after I was getting out of the Army not to move around, but I probably spent the last 10 years moving around a lot because I've chosen to do that. I certainly could have stayed in the same place, but really intrigued by, you can see that the Belgian flag there in the middle. I got an opportunity to go live and move the family to Belgium for 3 years and take an opportunity at one of our plants there. So really, a number of opportunities based on what you do. Now, it's not forced from J&J like it can be in the military in terms of having base selections and that. But so certainly based on what you need, and you can kind of see in the blue boxes here, really a great opportunity as well to kind of continue education and learn new things. Certainly my background coming into J&J was not in the biologics space, just as an example. So I will step over or turn it over now to Tanya to talk a little bit about her career.
Hi, good afternoon. Oh, hi, good afternoon to all of you today. Similar to Peter, my background is pretty diverse. So I had a different story. I was an enlisted Marine. I also am a military spouse as well. So my husband is a Marine veteran as well. And so right after the military, I went and finished up my bachelor's degree. So I had started it in advance of joining it. And that curriculum was really in the hospitality and tourism management field. So I did spend time at Marriott International working at the property level. And for me, it was a pretty easy transition. There's a lot of responsibility given to someone immediately at a hotel property level. But during that time, I started to develop more of a passion for the human resources space, which is very much what I did during my time as an enlisted Marine. And so I went and pursued my master's degree in human resources and development. So during that time, I had the opportunity to take an internship during my master's degree. And then upon graduation, I was offered a full-time role with Merck, where I really started my career within the talent acquisition space, primarily focused in university recruitment. So for those of you who may not know what that means, it's really internships as well as recent college graduates. And at that time, veterans transitioning out of the military. So I'll just say it's a pleasure to speak with all of you today. After that, I continued my career and I left healthcare for finance. I had amazing opportunities at finance. And so after years of spending time within talent acquisition and really, having a myriad of programs and businesses under my portfolio, I really made the conscious decision to return back to healthcare. So all of you could probably relate. I wanted to be a little bit more mission driven and more connected to patients and the healthcare industry as I was during my time at Merck. So I've been at Johnson & Johnson now for a little over 1 year. I started with Johnson & Johnson within more of a consulting project management type role. And now I've gone back to my HR roots and am now on a team that will focus on the strategy for the overall organization, so globally for Johnson & Johnson. So I welcome any questions at the end, and I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you more.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And both to Tanya and Peter, I hope that those that were listening heard a couple of really common things and interesting things. One is that we have some really diverse people at Johnson & Johnson, but also we're a really diverse business. So there's a lot of ability to carve your own path and to try on different things, but also something that I have found to be really normalized here is how encouraged it is and how normalized it is to move from one job to another within our business. So there's really is this ability to choose your adventure and to try on new things and to navigate within that. I know it surprised me in my interview for this job that I was asked, yeah, that's the job you're interviewing for, but what's the next thing you want to do? And I haven't stopped being asked that by my managers and my leaders at Johnson & Johnson. So I find that to be, really interesting common thread. So looking forward to getting some specific questions for the two of you, but thanks for sharing your story. All right. So we want to talk about how to get hired, right? And hopefully that's why a lot of people are on the line. I know we got at least one question in advance about veteran business owners, something I'm passionate about and isn't in this deck, but I'll mention that. But for most of you, hopefully you're interested in getting hired. So let's talk about that. First and foremost, I'm going to get into talking about specialized veteran-specific hiring pathways that we have designated out for jobs. But the most important thing I want you to know about is that we have thousands of diverse jobs open really at any given time across our business. And so one of the best things that you can do to find out about getting hired is to go to our Global Talent Hub, which you'll find at careers.jnj.com. There's a link to join our Global Talent Hub, and you can sign up and list your preferences for the kinds of job opportunities and locations that you're interested in, and you get notified really even right before, a few hours before a job gets posted. You can be notified so that you know to go and apply to that job. So again, we're going to get into the pathways. If you're excited about a pathway, apply to it, but always keep in mind that there are other jobs across our company available. So next, let's get into them. Next slide. So the 4 designated pathways where we hold specific jobs for veterans, if these are a fit for you, are going to be our Veteran Sales Pathway, our Skill Bridge program, and then we have 2 different leadership development tracks. So we're going to, between Candace and I, we're going to tell you about each of these tracks. And you can find out about these programs also by visiting careers.jnj.com/veterans. Next. All right, I always harp on this one, is just to remember to look at all of the jobs available on our careers site. And I get a lot of questions around what types of jobs and what levels of jobs to look at. One thing that I want to tell you is, our titles can be really diverse because our company is really diverse. You can look things up by your skill set, you can look by location. I encourage you to get curious about job postings. And one thing to pay attention to is every one of our job postings is really specific about what is required and what is preferred to be considered for the job. If it's required, it's required. If it's preferred, we're flexible on it. So that's one of the most important things and one of the first things that I look at a job description when applying to jobs at Johnson & Johnson. We're being asked about spouses. We do not have one specific pathway for spouses. We've got a lot of really great supportive policies for spouses once they're with our company. We don't have one designated pathway because we believe spouses can fit across our business. We do have a program though, that is a returnship program, which if you've had a gap in your career and you're a military spouse, you may qualify for that. I'll give you some information to contact me after this or contact me on LinkedIn and I can send you information about that program. But otherwise, spouses are encouraged to apply to all of our jobs. We have a really great benefit program. For example, you can get a specific leave in addition to your vacation if you have a deployment in your family or those sorts of things. So, but all right, for the sake of time, we'll go to the next slide. All right, the veteran sales pathway. We specifically designate about 15 jobs a year or more to veterans who want to break into pharmaceutical sales. And those jobs get posted under our veteran sales pathway. And what happens is it's instead of requiring, we take jobs that traditionally require pharmaceutical experience and instead replace that with military experience as the requirement and provide a little bit of additional support as you're going through and learning the job. You come into a territory where there's already an experienced rep. And the program isn't a specific time period, but it's usually at least a year that you come and you learn and you train under that rep as a sales associate and then take on your own territory after that period of time. We have found that this has been a really great way that has proven to managers and business leaders across our business that veterans excel once they get their foot in the door. So that's what's been exciting about this program. To find out more about this program, we are constantly changing the posting. So with this program, it is specific jobs that get posted to specific locations where there's an opening. And you can find those by putting in veteran pathway at our careers.jnj.com site. Or you can also, again, sign up for the Career Hub to be notified when jobs that meet those requirements pop up for you. But next. Oh, by the way, you can stay on this slide. The requirements for that job, you got to be interested in sales. You have to interview well. You have to have a bachelor's degree and a minimum of 2 years of military experience. I think we're going to go in a slightly different order here. So if I could get you to pop forward. Actually, you know what, Candace? Do you just want to jump in and talk about these two programs and then hand it back to me? Thanks.
Sure. No worries. I think the slides may have gotten out of order, so sorry about that. But yes, so the Military Veterans Leadership Development Program is just one of the pathways into Johnson & Johnson. It is a cohort program over 18 months where you will rotate 3 times. The program is specifically designed for those that have recently transitioned from the military, so typically 4 years or less, and you can have rotations in a multitude of areas. You can have a rotation in supply chain, a rotation in our enterprise functions, a rotation in our global brand protection, global public health, finance, you name it. And so this program, to learn more information about it, you can email mvldp@its.jnj.com. Again, this is a 3 rotational month program and it's cross-sector. It's over 18 months and you will be matched with opportunities based off of your interests as well as our business need. Next slide. And the Experience Military Veterans Leadership Development Program is similar in nature, and the requirements are also listed, so I won't be redundant here, but it is the only difference here is it is a 2 9-month rotational opportunity over 18 months. It is also still focused on development and mentorships. You can rotate between all of our functions. So again, supply chain, finance, our enterprise functions, and then after the rotation, you will be placed with an opportunity based off of your interests and business needs. So again, both of these leadership development programs are 2 rotational programs over 18 months. The MVLDP program is 3 rotations, and the EMVLDP program is two rotations over 18 months.
Thanks, Candace. And we could stay here for a minute. The big difference here between these 2 programs is EMVLDP is for senior leaders and MVLDP is for mid-career folks. So MVLDP, a minimum of 4 years in the military. MVLDP, you've got to have both, at least 20 years and the rank of E8 or 05 and above. I often get asked, can it be one or the other? It's both. If you don't have all of those things, then you can apply to the MVLDP program. The last reminder on this, I think Candace did a great overview, but the last reminder is these are highly competitive programs. We get about 100 applicants a year, a minimum to each program. We take about 4 people into EMVLDP and around that or maybe a little bit more for 4 to 6, 7 people into the MVLDP. So highly competitive programs. We say about the top 2% of people leaving the military. I share that to say, absolutely apply to these programs, but never only apply to these programs. This is my advice to someone who wants to get hired at J&J. Also, these are on very set timelines. The application is going to open for both of these in January. So please email that inbox. Info sessions are coming next week to find out about those and to be notified when the application opens, and they start in July. I know you hit that. I want to foot stomp on that, Candace, because we get a lot of interest in these two programs that you support.
Yes, yes. I just thank you, Tiffany. Yes, so this is an extremely selective program. Both of these programs are, but as Tiffany mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, join our Global Talent Hub, put in your interest, and that's how you will get notified of all the other job opportunities that we have. We have over 1,000 job opportunities that are available at any time. So please not only apply to these particular programs when they open in January, but also apply to any role that you see fit for you.
All right, thanks so much. All right, next slide. Oh, we're there. I usually talk about our SkillBridge program, but I think most of you are not necessarily SkillBridge eligible, but I'm going to put one thing in the chat before we close the Q&A.